Hey guys, Anthony Scott here of ToyHypeUSA.com. Today we're continuing our look at FanHome's R2-D2 subscription box with number 14. It's the 14th box in the subscription. This includes issues 51, 52, 53, and 54. And in case you're wondering what the mug is there, and I know you are, it's because I had a lot of trouble getting issue 51 to stand up by its own, and it kept knocking down the other issues. But not only that, it's one of the 2 free gifts in this box, so you don't only get the mug, you get a t-shirt as well, which we're going to be taking a closer look at in a moment. The mug, see what I mean about it falling down? Very nicely done. Issue an image of R2-D2 right there on the side, Lucasfilm, and Star Wars logo right there, as well as R2-D2. It's just a standard mug. All right, now it's going to stay. The t-shirt, as you see here, dark blue, very nicely done. Generic Star Wars t-shirt with some of the bad guys. So you have Darth Vader and Lord Sidious right here on the shirt. Let's open this up so you guys can see that. Short sleeve shirt. Very cool. Did a great job on that. And just so you know, there's nothing on the back there. Nice dark blue shirt. So let's start getting into this with a look at issue number 51. Also, big shout out and thank you to FanHome for sending along for a review. If you're looking to subscribe, check out the YouTube description or hyperlinks off ToyHypeUSA.com. Issue 51, here's a closer look at the cover as well as what's inside there. And this is the dome. So we're moving along very nicely with R2-D2. It's packaged very carefully with a styrofoam here and a piece of plastic over it to prevent it from bending or breaking inside the box. So here's a closer look there, all sides. So inside this issue, building R2-D2, starting work on the dome. Inside Star Wars, moving ahead quickly. And for Droid Directory, we have super tactical droids. First article, moving ahead quickly. Great images there. And a continuation. Some behind the scenes. Very nicely done. Up next, super tactical droids that you may recall from Clone Wars. And we have a continuation here. New article for robotics. A continuation. Just look at that behind the scenes. Very cool. And finally, we have a look at the steps we're going to be building for R2-D2. With this, you're going to be using some existing parts, which we used in the last issue. So that's what this is for right here. That's that. Here's a look at the dome and the steps. So we're going to be using the adhesive tape, sticking it on as shown, peeling the brown piece off so it should be sticky, and carefully aligning that panel piece, get it on there as shown, and there's a look at the completion for it. For your reference, here's just a look at the back of it. So I'm going to assemble this and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at the completion. As you can see, the blue panel is now on the dome and it's connected pretty well. Here's a look at the underside. You'll notice the residue from the strips are on both sides. However, it's put on there pretty well, unless the adhesive, doesn't work anymore, it will fall off. So just be aware of that. But for now, I think this is on pretty well. Hopefully it'll stay on for years to come. And I am now moving on to the next issue. Up next, issue 52, and here's a look at the parts we're going to be using for the assembly. Inside this issue, building R2-D2 sensor calibration. Inside Star Wars, Enter the Emperor, and for Droid Directory, Cyborgs Part 1. This is Cyborg Darth Maul right there on the cover with his spider legs. First article, Enter the Emperor, as well as a look behind the scenes, which you see right there. We have a continuation. Up next, Cyborgs Part 1. As I said, Darth Maul in his cyborg form with the spider legs. A continuation. Up next for robotics, this is robotics in Japan. A continuation. Sorry about that. Okay, so R2-D2 sensor control board. Here's a look at the parts as well as the steps we're going to be using for assembly. So we're going to be working with just one part, the sensor calibration panel. This little piece right here, the sensor control board, we're not going to be using today, so keep that in a safe place. And here's a look at the steps. So you're going to be unscrewing the bottom of the leg here. You're going to go right to the circuit board, taking that off, and then you're just going to slip that little plastic piece right in there as shown, screwing it back in. Sensor should look like this, putting the wheel back on and screwing that in. So these are going to be your steps for this issue. Here's a look at the back, and I am now going to assemble this, and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at the sensor calibration panel. It's this little plastic piece which I put on, so that's going to fit as shown. And as I said, you're going to unscrew all this, especially this part right here. The sensor calibration control board is going to look like this. It's fragile, so just be very careful with it, and you're not going to be using it right now. So put it back in the plastic case it came in for safekeeping. So the other step would be to put the sensor control panel on as shown, and then screw it back in, line it up with the hole, and then put the cover of the bottom of the wheel back on, and that's assembly. Here's a look at it with the screw back on. So I'm going to screw the rest of it on and move on to the next issue. Here's a look at issue 53, as well as the parts that are included. Keep in mind, these steps are quite sophisticated in this issue, so get ready to really take your time with it. Inside, testing the circuits for R2-D2. Inside Star Wars, inside the lair of the Emperor. And for Droid Directory, we have Cyborgs Part 2, General Grievous. First article, inside the lair of the Emperor. And we have a continuation here, one with a lot of really nice images. Cyborgs Part 2 for General Grievous. A continuation. And on the right for robotics, robotic exoskeletons. A continuation. And here's a look at the steps. So inside is a test board and two cables, which you see here. And the steps, we're going to be connecting the circuit boards. That's the first step. Plugging that in there as shown. And assembly should look like that. That's the battery pack from an earlier step, and that battery pack is right here. Next page, testing the lightsaber ejector mechanism. So we've also assembled that earlier on. Here's a look at that with the battery pack. Plugging that in, turning the power back on. And testing that. And the motor should run. Next is testing the right leg sensors, which you see here. This is the leg that's completed. Light should go on. This is located at the bottom of the foot. We just put this cover back on the last step. And make sure to keep a part of it off the table. And the green indicator should go off. So you see the indicators on green there. So there's a look at the steps. I am going to attempt this, and let's take a closer look. Here's just a look at the back. Here's a look at the assembly as well as the test. The wires all go as shown, as the instructions specified. And the first part of the test is on. You see the red light right here on the smaller circuit board. Flip this on and off so you guys can see that. Some additional lights also went on. And I am now moving on to the next step. The next part, testing the lightsaber ejector mechanism. And this is quite easy to do. Just plug in the lightsaber wires right on the back, right here and right here, or the mechanism parts, I should say. Sorry about that. And you're going to be hitting this test button, S2, which is right here. And when you press that, you're going to have this mechanism move as shown. So this is the ejector. See which ones I'm pressing. So this step is very easy to do. And for this step, we're just testing it. And I am now moving on to the next step. Here's a look at the final step assembly. This one gave me a little bit of trouble, but I was not able to figure it out. So yeah. So here's a look at that. This is all assembled. This is plugged into here as shown. This is where the leg plug goes. Two of the sensors are on. I was not able to get the green sensor on. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but it is a little bit complex, so just be aware of that. Let's just turn this on and off so you guys can see. So there's a look there. And I am now moving on to the next issue. Here's a look at the cover of issue 54, as well as the parts that are included. So inside 54, building R2-D2, fitting the dome panels and left leg parts, inside Star Wars, all over the place. And for Droid directory, we have support droids. First article, all over the place. A continuation. Up next, support droids. A continuation. Robotics, warehouse robotics. Continuation on the left, and on the right we have wheel support and dome panels. We're going to be continuing putting the blue panels on the dome, as we did with the very first magazine in this box, issue number 51. And we are also going to be working with the outer wheel mounting plate and the bearing, which you see right here. This is where this is going to go. So here's a wide view of all that. Starting things off, just as we've done, these 3 plates with the sticky as shown. And you're going to be putting it on, as you see here. And that's a look at it complete so far. Now fitting the left wheel. We've done one wheel, now we're going to do the other. And completed assembly. So that's what it's going to look like when it's done. So I'm going to assemble this now, and let's take a closer look. Here's a look at the dome stage. The plates are all on. I did, however, have to use super glue as the adhesive tape couldn't peel off. A little super glue residue fell on there. Not too happy about that, but it is staying on very well. It's still drying, but it does dry right away. There's a look at it from the other side. Here's another look from this side. So that's what this is supposed to look like. And finally, here's a look at the last assembly for this box. This is the wheel and the brackets on there. It's all screwed in. I used 4 existing screws. This is baggy, didn't come with screws, so just go through your big pile of screws that you've been collecting. You'll find 4 that will fit in here. These are teeny tiny little screws. Here's a closer look at the 4 I used. So this is all now assembled. This box is done. Thanks again to FanHome for sending along for a review. Greatly appreciate that. I am Anthony Scott at ToyHypeUSA.com. My recommendation would be to subscribe. This has been a fun build, and I, for one, can't wait to open up the next box. To subscribe, check out the YouTube description. There's a link on there, or there's hyperlinks off of ToyHypeUSA.com. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and share, and stay tuned for more coverage.